Hi everyone, my name is Tory and we are presenting to you today an global staffing analysis of A.O. Smith Corporation. Our agenda today is to go over some general company information as well as engineering department information, which was our focus. We will go into a career website analysis. Then we will look into the United States recruiting and selection processes as well as analyze some strengths and weaknesses, and go into also a comparative analysis between U.S. and China, and end off with some recommendations and conclusion. So first, we want to explain why we chose A.O. Smith. The first reason is that I'm actually an intern in the HR department at the U.S. location. And with that, I have many connections within the company. So that made it a lot easier for us to access information about recruiting and selection. Another reason is that A.O. Smith has a very vast history and has a lot of plans for future growth, and that will involve a lot of recruitment and selection. And finally is because they have many locations globally, which enabled us to have a lot of choices whenever we were making our decisions. And now we want to go into some history about A.O. Smith. It was established in 1874 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin as a hardware specialties company, and what they actually started off doing was baby carriages, and then moved into bicycle frames and automobile frames, and throughout the past 140 years they have really gone through a bunch of different industries and a bunch of different products. They even made bomb casings during World War I. And with this came a lot of acquisitions, and they sold off a lot of businesses as well. Their current focus is water heating products, which they didn't enter into until 1948, and that didn't become their main focus until 1997 when they sold off their automobile business. The company has been incorporated since 1904, so that's 110 years. And the Smith family has been very involved since the beginning of the company. They were heading the company until 1984, and there are still family members that sit on the board of directors today. A.O. Smith really goes on their motto of innovation has a name. Their goals are to be a worldwide leader in their water products, and that concerns energy efficiency as well as innovation. They want to provide a very comprehensive product line globally to meet everyone's needs, and they also want to make sure that their customers are satisfied as well as that they are providing value to the stakeholders. Some more general information about A.O. Smith. They currently employ about 11,400 people worldwide. They are, as I said, publicly traded, and they are on the New York Stock Exchange. Their ticker name is AOS. In 2013, they had $2.15 billion in sales and $191.2 million in adjusted earnings. And as I mentioned in our introduction, we have a lot of locations globally. This includes 13 cities within the U.S., 2 within Canada, 3 locations in Asia, 2 in Europe, 1 in Mexico, 1 in India, and 1 in Turkey. And in addition to being so global, there are also multiple brands that A.O. Smith goes under. Some are country specific, but basically if you're going out to buy a water heater, it's likely that you will buy one that is not under the direct A.O. Smith name. And now we get a little more focus into the engineering department. We decided that because A.O. Smith is such a large company that we needed to narrow our focus, and we chose the engineering department because, one, the company is so focused on innovation, and the engineers are truly the people who are working with the products every day and trying to make them better or create new ones. The engineering department is also reasonably sized. Had we chosen, say, manufacturing, there would have been thousands of employees and a bunch of jobs to look through. But if we had chosen IT, it would have been a much smaller department. And also because engineering is so specialized, there are certain requirements that engineers really have to meet in order to be qualified for their positions. So in the engineering department in the U.S., there are about 250 employees, and that goes the same for China. Most of these U.S. positions are exempt because of the amount of specialization they have to have and decision-making, all of the FLSA requirements. Within the department, there's also a multitude of levels that engineers can go into. We really start off with interns and co-ops and go all the way up to senior vice presidents. And even within this, there are many different types of engineers that are needed in order to really make a complex water heater what it is. Now we are going to transition into a website analysis for A.O. Smith's careers.
So we'd like to take a look at the career website of A.O. Smith. We'd like to assess it from four perspectives: the content, the navigation, branding, and job application. Here's a photo of the career website. You can see the website is clean and well designed. In the content perspective, according to author, the purposes of career website is to provide information of the company and the positions and to attract potential applicants. The website fulfills this purposes very well. It tells the history of the company, it tells the kind of employees they are looking for, and the development opportunities employees could have in A.O. Smith. It also have updated and comprehensive descriptions of the positions so that applicants know more about available opportunities. Moreover, information about programs and promotes employees' health and fitness are provided in details, which help employees to achieve a life and work balance. Most interestingly, there's a sidebar displaying the opinions from the current employees. Here's an example. The employee provides her answers to several structured questions, such as, what's the most interesting part of your job? Tell me about the accomplishment you are proud of at A.O. Smith, and what's your key motivation? This information from current employees could provide a more realistic preview of the working environment in A.O. Smith and build a more intimate connection between the applicants and the company, and enhance their desire to apply for the job in A.O. Smith. Most of the information in the website are conveyed through text. According to Allen, Began, Pitts, Otto, Van, and Van Scotter, text attracts most attention from visitors. But at the same time, hyperlinks and images are used between these texts to visualize the information and to keep visitors from tedious text reading. However, there are three main weaknesses of the website in content. Most importantly, not enough information are provided in some sections. For example, concerning the information about the company, only a brief introduction of the company is provided for those visitors who are not familiar with A.O. Smith. We only know that it's a leading company in water technology industry. We still don't know the products of the company, the different locations of company, and the current status of the company. Secondly, no videos or flashes are used in the website. Videos and flashes could visualize information much better and could make the website more dynamic, which could attract more young applicants. Last but not least, the equal employment opportunity related information are not in obvious places. It takes some time for visitors to find such related information. According to Capelli, online recruiting tends to raise the risk of discrimination against people under protected classes. Therefore, it's important that A.O. Smith demonstrate itself as an equal employment opportunity employer in a prominent place. In the navigation part, Allen and L pointed out that a career website with poor navigation could drive a lot of visitors away. The website of A.O. Smith has a great navigation function. It has a top bar, sidebar, and hyperlinks to guide visitors. It has navigation instructions to help visitors reorder the job listed. The hyperlinks and website search functions help visitors find the information they needed. However, there's no job search functions, and there's no the positions are not categorized, and no additional filters are used. Therefore, applicants who want to find a specific job have to find a position, have to find it one by themselves, which incurs a lot of inconvenience. In the branding part, A.O. Smith established a really positive company image. It demonstrates itself as an innovative, diverse, honest, ethical, excellent, and customer employee-oriented company with high financial success and a strong sense of social responsibility. According to Capelli, this is the best way to check potential applicants. However, just as a problem in content, more information in details and more examples should be encompassed to enrich the image of the company and to persuade applicants better. Last but not least, in the job application perspective, as Arthur mentioned, the application process of the career website should provide applicants with convenience. A.O. Smith has a very user-friendly application page. Applicants could register and log in the website in multiple ways. Connections with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn are provided to facilitate the application process and to attract more young applicants. Filling out application information is the most important thing in the process. A.O. Smith's websites provide different ways to fill in the information and to upload documents, exactly as what Arthur has suggested.
So now we're going to move on to the real recruiting and selection process, and we gathered information by passing out a questionnaire to 4 different people within A.O. Smith. 2 were from the United States and 2 were from China. We spoke to a human resources manager and a talent acquisition manager in the U.S., as well as a research and development human resources manager and a district general manager of human resources in China. And basically what we did is we did a lot of email correspondence, sent out our questionnaires, and really divided it up into 3 sections: recruitment, selection, and an other category. So the recruitment process begins when the engineering department realizes that they have an open position coming up or a new position that they want to create. They'll go to HR and ask for assistance with job analysis, compensation, beginning the recruitment process, and all of that. Although there are other options besides recruitment, because most engineering employees are exempt, overtime is not an option, and hiring temps are not an option either because of the specialized knowledge that is needed. So once they've established all the information, they post their job, the open position, on the A.O. Smith intranet a week before they actually do it externally. And this really gives the internal employees advantage and some more motivation to apply for these positions. Like I said, a week later, then they will post it externally. And this is done through the A.O. Smith Careers website, as well as through a recruiting process outsourcer, and they will post on various job boards. The recruitment is really usually done nationally, but does sometimes go internationally, and they do advertise themselves as an equal opportunity employer. However, some of the U.S. positions or locations do use specific recruiters and headhunters. And but ultimately, the people who come into A.O. Smith to fill the positions are usually from the competitors. And now onto the selection process. The RPO will then look through all of the applications and resumes and eliminate the unqualified people to narrow down the candidate pool. What's interesting here, though, is that if an internal employee applies for a position, they will get an interview regardless of if they are qualified or not. So with all of the candidate pool, the engineering department will assess who they believe should get a preliminary screening from HR on the phone. Once those screening interviews are complete, HR will come back to the engineering department with recommendations based off the job specifications that the engineering department has given them. Then the engineering department gets to take control and narrow it down even further to who they want to bring in on site in order to do an interview. These interviews are done with multiple people, usually starting off with the person's potential manager, working all the way up to possibly the senior vice president of engineering. The interview discussion topics are pretty generic, work experience, education, culture fit, those types of things. And after the interview, they tend to do some kind of technical test to see their knowledge, and if it's a high-level manager, they'll do a behavioral test. And then, of course, we have background checks, reference checks, and drug tests. And ultimately, they try to get an offer out within 1 week of the interview. Onto the strengths of these processes. One thing that A.O. Smith really has going for them is their culture, their values, their strong brand that really makes people want to come work for A.O. Smith, as well as that they have fair pay and good benefits. They are, as I said, an equal opportunity employer and really follow that throughout the processes. The HR department and the interviewers are well aware of the laws that are applicable here. The interviews are also structured but conversational, so that they do have the specific questions that need to be asked in order to assess the qualifications of the candidate, but they also get to have a conversation between two people. And finally, from insider information is that they are currently transitioning into the SAP software, and this will happen globally throughout a couple of years. This also includes a program called Success Factors, and this will allow for consistent HR planning, and performance appraisals and many other different things. This will not only make recruiting and selection easier, it will provide a consistency across all locations. And into our weaknesses. One thing that really stood out is that they never mentioned the validity or reliability of their recruitment and selection methods, and this includes the tests that they provide to their candidates, which can obviously be a huge issue when it comes to discrimination and other legal issues. They didn't mention if they utilize behavior-based interviewing techniques, so we don't know what types of questions they ask, only the conversation topics. There's inconsistency within the U.S. versus using the RPO or recruiters or headhunters, which may just lead to more complications or just be utilizing more money than needed. And finally, because engineering positions are so specialized, it is very hard and time-consuming to find a qualified candidate. And they even mentioned that at one point it took 12 months to fill an open position, which obviously hurts the business. And now we will move on to a comparative analysis between the more familiar now U.S. recruiting and selection to China.
Let's look at the job analysis of the HR people in those two locations in A.O. Smith. Job analysis, the most fundamental human resource management activities among all, mentioned by Cruz and Payne. So it's great that both locations have done job analysis before the recruiting before recruiting engineers. Concerning the HR planning process, it's very surprising that A.O. Smith in China conducted regularly each year, while HR in the United States did not. They only conducted according to the department manager's specific needs. Without forecasting future need and supply of talents, A.O. Smith in U.S. would be unable to prepare for future changes and risks. The general recruiting process of these two locations is pretty similar, yet there are still differences. They recruit externally through different methods. It takes them different time to finish the recruiting process, and A.O. Smith in China seldom concerned about the diversity issue in the workplace. The difference in diversity concerns may due to historical and cultural differences between U.S. and China. Comparing the selecting process, they are more similar than different. Tests about technical skills are used. 2 to 3 rounds of interviews are conducted, and HR people, engineer department employees, and senior managers are involved in the interview process. It's just A.O. Smith in U.S. has outsourcers to do preliminary resume screening for them, while the A.O. Smith in China do it for themselves. And also drug tests and just legal issues are not mentioned by HRs in China, but attention to these two issues could contribute to a safer and better working environment, according to Cruz et al. It's very surprising that although A.O. Smith is a global corporation, the HR people in these two locations have hardly any knowledge about the practices in other locations. The reason for this may due to lack of training for employees, global awareness and knowledge, and lack of communication between employees between different locations. In this sense, A.O. Smith can only be called an organization just doing business around the world, rather than a truly global organization of having a global staffing system, according to Ryan, Richmond, and Hemingway's idea. We can see the strengths of these two locations share. According to Tory, they all have very high reputation and great company image to help them attract more applicants, while the weaknesses is differentiated a little bit. As Tory mentioned, A.O. Smith in U.S. faced the lack of talent in this field due to specialized knowledge required, while A.O. Smith in China, the positions are not so attractive because the engineers do not have a very good development path in their company. According to concerning the legal consultation part, they all invite legal consultants into companies each year for legal consultation for issues such as candidate citizenship and anti-competition. Last but most interestingly, A.O. Smith in China have two programs, which is CHIP program and the Smith Engineer program. The CHIP is a competency profile for A.O. Smith people, which is greatly utilized in selection process. T stands for team building and teamwork. R stands for results driven. I is innovation, and P is professionalism and passion. Having the CHIP ensures A.O. Smith always select and hire the exact kind of employees they are looking for. The Smith Engineer program focuses on the recruitment and mentoring of young engineers, mainly hired from campus hiring. The program develops the abilities of young engineers, making sure that they have the talents when needed and when faced with uncertainties in future. Here's the conclusion part of the comparison. We can see that the process in US and China are generally similar, but there are some major differences. First is no concern of diversity issues and legal issues are mentioned in China, and no regular HR planning are used in US, and it took much longer time to recruit in US. Two reasons may contribute to this result. First is lack of talent in this field, as mentioned by Tory, and no HR planning and development programs, as I've discussed above. And there are two major problems that we have to address. First is lack of international awareness and knowledge of the employees, and lack of communication between different locations. Had there been more communication between these locations, US and China could learn from each other's strengths and weakness to improve their practice better. To address the problems, we have made some recommendations. First is to encompassing more details in the website to familiarize the visitors better, and to allow job search functions and add more filters on the job listing page so that applicants could find the specific position more efficiently, and to conduct regular HR planning and employee development and build up employee development programs to fill in engineer positions more efficiently, and to enhance global awareness and facilitate communications between staffs in different locations. But last but not least, ensure the reliability and the validity of the tests used in the process. We also have some limitations in our project. First is we have some difficulty in receiving specific details about the process, taking the time and language constraints. Since we are sending out questions in documents, sometimes the respondents have some difficulty in understanding our questions, so that we have some difficulty in getting the answers we are targeting at. And we are unable to receive samples of the tests, the questions used in interviews, and performance appraisals. Here's a summary of our project. AOSmith is a very strong and long-lasting company. Brand and culture are the important factors to their success in recruiting and selection. In recruiting and selection, process is inconsistent across different locations around the world, and website can be enhanced for more optimal usage. Last but not least, positive outlook on the future in terms for the engineering department should be taken. Here's our reference list. Thank you for